Hello, welcome! Today we are going to talk about will and be going to discuss the future. According to many different books, many different teachers, and many different anglophones in general, will and be going to often cause confusion because one resource says that will is this, and a second resource that says be going to is this. So there is a little bit of confusion between these two elements. Here at Saguenay Valley, we teach will and be going to as two separate elements that are very, very different. So today I will show you will versus be going to for the future. So, as I mentioned, will and be going to, we use them to talk about the future. Typically, will, for the majority of resources and books and many teachers, often we use will for more spontaneous actions. So actions that we don't think about before we do it. So for example, if the telephone rings and you don't expect a call, you say, I will answer the telephone. You can also use will for predictions. So when you are discussing the weather or your favorite hockey team and you want to make predictions on the result, then you can use will. For example, tomorrow it will rain. I'm not necessarily certain about that. I cannot necessarily plan the weather, so I use will. And the usually other general definition of will is also for promises. So when you speak to your parents or maybe your brother, your sister about plans and you say, yes, I will clean up my room, typically we use will. And as the auxiliary states will, we don't really conjugate it, we just simply use it in front of the verb. So for example, I will, let's go with I will travel, which hopefully in the future we will travel. She will travel. They will travel. So as you can see, there is very little difference in the auxiliary and the verb that comes after. And remember, when you have third person singular, typically we put an S, but for the future, we do not. So these are the definitions for will for the simple future. Now for be going to, it is a little bit different. Again, some books will say that this is will or be going to, and here, what I will write, other books sometimes say the opposite. So be careful when you read different resources. There can be some contradicting information, so just be aware of that. Be going to, typically we use it more for plans or ideas that we have about the future. So typically you think about them before you do these actions. Then the other way that we can use be going to is for intentions. So when you have a logic, when you want to do something and you plan it in your head or you discuss it with someone, then you can use be going to. You can also use it in a certain way, very similar to will for the weather. So will you can use for predictions for the weather. You can also use be going to for the future when you can look, and I guess you can say deduce what you see. So for example, if I draw a little picture and you have a cloud and you have some rain, maybe some thunder and lightning, and you are right here and the wind is moving in this direction, then you can say it is going to rain. So the other little detail with be going to is the auxiliary be, which you need to conjugate if you want to use it in a sentence. So for example, if I use I am going to travel. She is going to travel. And if I use they are going to travel. So these are the two distinctions between will and be going to. So will, more spontaneous, predictions, promises. Be going to, plans or ideas, intentions, and deductions or deducing what normally will happen in And as I mentioned, depending on books that you read, different teachers that you consult, they can sometimes mix up the definitions, but this is what we use here at the Saginaw Valley for will and be going to. And if for some reason you're not sure which one to use, just think of this. Most Anglophones use will all the time, and they don't really differentiate between a plan and a general idea about the future, so you can use will pretty much all the time. So this is it for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time for our next capsule.